welcome to episode 3 of my Java GUI tutorial series. In this episode, we are going to actually put our mouse manager that we created in the last episode to use by creating a button. So this button, you will be able to press on it, and you can render an image on it, or just a normal rectangle, or as many rectangles as you want. Make it look cool, and you can also there's also going to be a method to check if it's pressed, and if it is, it runs that method. So we can create lots of cool stuff with that. So let's go and get started. So we have to create a new class for this button, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna put this in the right package. I'm gonna put in the button package. So what are we gonna need? We're gonna need a few things. We're gonna need the usual, which is the public int x and the public int y. And then we're also gonna need like the public int width and the public int height. And there we go. And now what we have to do is we're gonna need a rectangle. So we're gonna create a public rectangle collision rect. So yeah, that's pretty much what it says. That is to check for collision with the mouse manager's rectangle. So now we're also going to need the public buffered image. Now I'm not going to be using an image, but I will still kind of create one just for the tutorial. So we're going to need a public. So now we're going to need the constructor, right? So this is going to be setting all of our stuff, which we will need. So we go into here, and we need the int x, int y, int width, int height, and then we're going to need the buffered image. Image. That's all the things we'll need. So now we're going to have to set them. So this dot x equals x. This dot y equals y. This dot width equals width. And then this dot height equals height. And finally this dot image equals image. Now we set all of our values, but there's still the collision rectangle that has not been set. So we could do that in the tick method every time it's called, but this is going to be a static button. It's not going to move around. So what we can do is we can just set it in here. So collision rect equals a new rectangle, and we're going to want to put in the x, y, width, and height. Boom, done. So that does everything. It sets all of our values and stuff like that. So now we're going to need another method, and it's going to be public void tick. Now in the tick method, we are actually going to check for collision. So what are we going to have to do? Well, we're obviously going to have to get the mouse manager from main. So a simple way to do that is we can just public. No, we don't need to do that. We can just call it from the main. So we're going to check to see if main, or wherever you have your mouse manager, main.mm.pressed.getPressed. No? What's the problem here? main.mousemanager.getPressed. There we go. That was weird. So if that's all happening, then we can check to see if there's collision. So that's super simple. So if collision rect, so if the rectangle from this class intersects with the main.mm.getRect. So if it intersects with the rectangle, that means we have a collision. So we can call a method we haven't yet created called action. So that does that. So now we want to move into one more thing though. we are going to have to create a boolean up here, a public boolean with that's called isPressed. So this will stop repetitive presses. So you can't call them out. You can only press them out once while when you click on it, you have to release and then click again for it to work, which I think is quite necessary. So if it is pressed and is pressed is not then is pressed is false, then we can call that. Now down here, just before we end the tick method, we're gonna have to just see if, and we're gonna have to do the exact opposite that we did here, right? So we can just copy that down. So if it's not pressed and this is true, then we can set is pressed equal to false. On that topic, we have to make sure that is pressed is set to true. There we go, that does it. So now we might want to create a public void render. It's going to take in a graphics object. I'm going to do graphics 2D because that's what it is in my game. So graphics 2DG. You can just use normal graphics. There's no difference. So then what we want to do is we want to do, you would render the image, so you do g.drawImage. What I'm going to do is I'm going to render a blue rectangle. And then we're going to go like this, and we're going to do g.fillRect, because we want to make sure it's filled. And we want to set x, y, width, and height. And boom. Our class is almost done, but as you can see, we still don't have that method, so we can create that. We can create a public void action. Now, this is super simple. Right now, all we're going to do is sysout action called. So this is just for testing purposes. So, we're done. We just created that method. Super fast, super easy. So now we just have to create an instance of it wherever you want it. So I'm going to do it in here. So I'm going to create a public button1, and make sure you import yours, the Java AWT. Hit finish, and now in the init, after we do all this, we're going to do button1 dot, no, not dot, equals a new button. And we're going to set the x, I'm going to set the x to 0, 0, width of maybe 200, and a height of maybe 80. And the image for me is going to be null. If you are doing that, you have to make sure you set that to your image. I have no way of getting images, so it's null for me. So in the tick method, I'm going to do button1 equals a, no, button1 dot tick, of course, dot tick, and then down in your render method, after you button1 dot render, and I'm going to put in your graphics object. So there we have it. Now if we run this, we can see if it works. So let's move the display down. Now you can still see how we have that mouse is moved. Here we have it pressed, but let's see, when we go over it and click, it says action called. So there we have it. That is pretty darn cool. So now we have a button. We can set the size of it, the X and Y. We could even render an image on it. You could create more than one. You could create hundreds, thousands. Just keep performance in mind. So I think it's pretty cool. Don't know about you guys, but anyways, I think that does it for the third episode. In the fourth episode, what we are going to get started on is lists, which is going to be quite fun. So can't wait till then. As always, thank you for watching, and see you next time.